Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture. See how those incidents may or may not affect our daily lives. Listen, if you like what you see, please hit that thumbs up button. And to engage me in the comments, I would be so appreciative of it. Just leave a comment if you're engaging with this content. And if you like what you see, and you want to engage more, please subscribe. I'm on a quest for 1,000 subscribers, and I would love to count you into my family over here. All right. So I'm doing this particular video. This is for my new subbies because I know a lot of people have come to me, and I'm so thankful from other different channels. I appreciate you all coming. But what I'd like to do right now is to do a big recap overview of the Jonathan Majors case. So this is going to be my slideshow for that. So I'm doing this basically for my new subbies, just to go over the timeline of the case through mainstream media, just kind of really hit a little bit about what's going on in social media, and also go over some of the legal information. I'm not going to go over all of that because, like I said, I've kind of reviewed some of that legal information in another video, but I will hit those things at times just to talk about what's going on. I am a casual viewer. I am someone who has been watching this case and just been real disillusioned how mainstream media talks about our people. You know, if you are someone who is readily on TikTok, then you're probably part of the gender wars. I'm not part of that. I grew up knowing that where black men and black women always got along, so I'm not a part of that. If you're on that I can't stand a man, I can't stand a woman train, I'm not part of that. All I am is I see the information and then I make a decision about what's going on with that information. I'm not a person that's going to take sides just because I'm a woman. I'm not a person that's going to take sides just because I'm black. I am that person that wants to sit down, look at the information given to me, and if something does not make sense to me, I am going to question it. So let's talk about it. Now, I will let me go ahead and let you all know that this is a long and complete slideshow, so it may go over 30 minutes. I just wanted to prepare you so you can break this video up the way you need to, but we're going to go over this information. So, what happened? So on March 25th, TMZ reported that Jonathan Majors had been arrested. And as you see on the screen, this is what the initial information that came out to us. It says a preliminary investigation determined that a 33-year-old male was involved in a domestic dispute with a 30-year-old female. The NYPD said in a statement. The victim informed police she was assaulted. Officers placed a 33-year-old male into custody without incident. The victim sustained minor injuries to her head and neck and was removed to an area hospital in stable condition. Majors was identified by the police and then listed in the charges were strangulation, assault, and harassment. And at that point, the victim wasn't identified. Now, what we learned in the news that he was arrested and he was booked in a Manhattan courtroom. He made bail. He actually didn't have to make bail. He was released on his own recognizance. And at the time, a partial restraining order was served. Now, I know that there was a people talked about why was a partial restraining order uh, placed. Now that I don't know, but with that partial restraining order, they were able to have very limited communications. What we did not know at the time is that they lived together. So I guess it was a situation where someone had to go get their things and get out or something like that. So this is what we learned then. So on March 26th, he was officially charged. And these were the charges that he was charged with. He was charged with assault 3 with intent to cause physical injury, assault, recklessly causing physical injury. And I'm assuming that that's the strangulation charge. He was also charged with aggravated harassment too, and it said injure family. He was charged with assault three, with intent to cause physical injury, and harassment, the second degree physical contact. So these were the initial charges that he was levied with. And baby, once that strangulation charge hit, baby, everybody was off the market. You had social media pundits already say, well, he did that. He's out here strangling women, and we should believe all women because there's no way in the world that anybody would say that they were going to be assaulted. And if they weren't assaulted, uh, it's just a shame. He's a good actor. I don't know why he would do all of these things. We got all of that. That's social media. We also had mainstream media, the way they would word the headline, and I understand clickbait, but that's the way they would word the headline, and they would try to confuse the audience with his character in Creed with the headline. So you would see a menacing photo of him from Creed splashed across the headline. So at this point, now I want you to pay attention to my little blue arrow. It's going to be round here at the bottom of the screen. And my blue arrow is going to give you some indication of what's coming next down the timeline. So if you are a Marvel fan, this is my sacred timeline. All right, let's continue. So around that time, Twitter was ablaze. Now, prior to Jonathan Majors being arrested, there was a tweet by this man named A.B. Allen. And I'm going to read you what this tweet said. Now, he tweeted this on February 14th. Now, what was significant about February 14th or in the February era was the fact that Jonathan Majors did a photo shoot, I believe, for Ebony Magazine. And in that photo shoot, I know he'd worn the color pink, but there was this particular photo where he had on these pants, jeans that looked like they were, I call them jean boots. That's what they look like. He had on that, and then he had this big, fluffy, pink, uh, feathery coat. Well, if you're not an anime fan and you're just here in the world walking around, we are very, as a people, as black folks, we are and if I'm lying, then I am. You all can correct me down in the comments. But we are very homophobic. We are very anything as far as a man presenting anything that would assume to be feminine. So as a culture, as men, because black men, uh, say that they are emasculated. And now, when I say all these things, I'm not saying it to minimize anyone. I am just explaining to you what has been told to me. So that anything associated with that, they get upset about. So during that time, he was wearing all these different clothes. Everyone said that he looked uh, feminine, that he possibly might be gay, and also too, him and Michael B. Jordan had done a photo shoot where they were talking about intimacy and how black men should rethink what they think about intimacy. And having intimacy does not mean that you're having sex. And I don't think that that's a black man thing. That's just a man thing. Intimacy for men is sex. Instead of understanding that friendship with someone else is part of intimacy, being a confidant, being honest, being all those different things, physical touch, yes, all those things are part of intimacy. So I went around that bush to tell you. So this was the tweet that Mr. Allen wrote. There's a particular actor, relatively new on the scene, who Twitter has violently fallen head over heels for, and for in actuality is a vicious, cruel, abusive human being, both professionally and in his personal life. And every new viral thirst tweet about him drives me insane. So this was back in February. It was a very innocuous tweet. It wasn't anything that came out. But what happened was somebody that he knew uh, tweeted this above that. He quote tweeted and said, "Now we know who this tweet was about." And then A.D. Allen comes back and says, "Ding, ding, ding, ding." So he was talking about Jonathan Majors. Now he was talking about him back in February. So then when this all came out on the 26th, because Jonathan started losing a lot of different things. He lost the U.S. Army recruitment ads, and they were removed. The U.S. Army said the U.S. Army is aware of the arrest of Jonathan Majors, and we are deeply concerned by the allegations surrounding his arrest. Laura DeFrancisco, public affairs chief for the Army Enterprise Marketing Office, said in a statement to People. We recently released two ads in which Mr. Majors appears. While Mr. Majors is innocent until proven guilty, prudence dictate that we pull our ads until the investigation into these allegations is complete. That was their statement. So then we had Tim Nicolai. He comes out and he says, "I'm just going to say this about Jonathan Majors and be done with it. Folks at Yale and the broader NYC community have known about him for years. He is a sociopath and abuser, and that's how virtually everyone speaks about him. It's a shame it took this long for him to be reported." And he was then bombarded with a whole bunch of folks asking, if you knew all of this information, why didn't you say something, or why did you wait to this to come out? He repeats back and says, "I'm already seeing a bunch of why didn't you do anything. Folks, people have tried, ultimately needed a victim to come forward. It's both simultaneously awful to know he is still doing this and also relief that he may not get to do it again. A bunch of us are close with people and sometimes multiple people he has directly harmed. I don't know if they will speak on it. It is completely their decision." Then he goes in that he's probably going to delete this, blah, 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 blah. Now, there was a tweet someone had asked, because I think Mr. Allen deleted these tweets because he came back with a tweet because he was bombarded with that information. And then he comes back and he says, "No, no, 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 no. I wasn't saying anything about physical abuse. I was saying that, he's mean spirited, he's this, he's that. But I'd never witnessed any physical abuse." Because people started getting on their behinds about, if you know about this stuff, why was it not reported? They had no answer, and the next thing you know, again, Twitter was ablaze with uh, think pieces on, because of these tweets, everybody knew everything about them. But interestingly enough, these were the only two tweeters. These were the only two tweets that surfaced on the internet. There were no tweets surfaced by anybody that formerly dated him. There were no tweets surfaced by any of uh, these bunch of people that supposedly were had been affected by him at Yale or anything like that. There was nothing else. So then let's go ahead and continue, because we're going to go to March 30th, because this is when the Priya Chaudhry, who is the attorney on record for Jonathan Majors, she had mentioned on the 26th that Mr. Majors was innocent, and that he did nothing wrong to the victim, and that the victim had recanted her statements. She said she recanted in a text message, and that she recanted in official paperwork. So then we got this tweet. This was the tweet that was released. And to be honest, it didn't give what the defense thought it was supposed to have gave. Shout out to Roland Ray. It There was no context with this tweet, with these sets of tweets. There were no context, and things seemed a little confusing. So we're going to go over the whole text thread that we were able to see. Now, if you start up at the top, you see that there's a text that's cut off. And notice too that the text bubbles that are in gray, that is from the victim, and the text bubbles in blue, that is from Mr. Majors. So let me just go right here. These text bubbles in the gray, that's from the victim, and these two text bubbles, they are from Jonathan Majors. So let's go up to the top. It says, there is no note, just you knowing what happened. And then at 8:58 a.m. on the 25th, Jonathan replies, "Did you leave the keys? Goodbye." And the name was, and whatever this was redacted. At 6 p.m. later that day, so he came to the apartment and he found her in the apartment. So that's sometime later, but we'll get to that going forward. Uh, at 6 p.m., because you have to understand that he was arrested around 11 something that day, and he was not released until later that evening. So I think he wasn't released to maybe 7 or 8 o'clock, 6, 7, or 8 o'clock at night. So she texted him, "Please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you would not be charged. They said that they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. I'm so angry they did that. I am so angry that they did, excuse me. And I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of hospital. Call me when you're out." There was no response to that tweet. She then tweets, "I love you." There was no response to that tweet. So about 9:32 that evening, she texts, "They just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack and they do not have my blessing on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation and I said point blank, this did not occur and should be removed immediately. The judge is definitely going to be told this. She assured me," and she is, I'm assuming, is either a police officer that probably specializes in domestic violence and dealing with victims. She ensured this to me. "I know you have the best team and there's nothing to worry about." Or it could have been a domestic violence advocate. "I know that you have the best team and there's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm doing all I can my end. I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior. Out of care. She promised all will be relayed." So this was the text messages that was released. The letter or the affidavit or whatever she had written in regards to the strangulation, in regards to this not being that she's recanting, we did not see that. I did not see anything online. If anybody have seen that, you can email that to me. My email is pamentertainmenttv@gmail.com. So if anybody has that, please email it to me. But I don't have a copy or anything of that, so I don't know about that particular level. But all we saw was these text messages. And like I said, these text messages, when you saw the people online, it didn't give what it was supposed to have gave. Everybody was concentrating on these big bubbled texts, this right here and this right here. We heard words like, "Oh, well, this is Darvo. This is classic abuse victims talk." So you could tell that she has been in an abusive relationship with him for so long. Everybody kept talking. The one thing that I noticed about these text messages that no one seemed to want to talk about was this right here. This right here. You see my mouse. There is no note, just you knowing what happened. Now, let me just explain to you a little bit about my background. I was a social worker for 20 plus years. When I see something like this could indicate someone who is wanting, let me go back. Hold up, y'all. I done skipped too far. This indicates someone who wants to unalive themselves. And that was what was interesting to me, because I will go back, because they said that there was a 911 call to the police. This is how the police got involved. You remember, back with TMZ, they said there was a 911 call, and that's how the police came. We learned early, probably about 3 or 4 days later, that it was Jonathan Majors that made the 911 call. Now, why is that important? Is it me? But I've not known a domestic violence abuser that will call 911 on the partner, unless there was a situation where that partner seemed like they were not responsive. So that was interesting to me. So we're going to go on. So this text message came out. Again, everyone focused in on this section of the text message. We had our social media DV expert say that this was part of Darvo, and that, this proves to them that they did it, because she wouldn't write this information down if she didn't do it. One of my mutuals here on YouTube noted about this text message was that when people text, they usually don't skip spaces. And that doesn't seem like part of how she does. Because when you come here, it's one singular text. Why was there so many skipped spaces here? Why was everything had to be laid out like this? That was interesting. We may go back to that, but shout out to Chillmonger for recognizing that. Now, when it rains and pours. So during this period of time from March 25th till about April 18th, everything was just going wrong. Everything, he had so many losses. His public relations firm, the lead company, dropped Jonathan Majors as a client. The management company, Entertainment 360, dropped Jonathan Majors as a client. He stepped down. He voluntarily stepped down from the Gotham Film and Media Institute. It's the Sidney Poitier initiative. And he had just talked about this initiative, I think it was back in November or December of the previous year. And he was very excited about this. So he's losing all of these things because of the arrest. Not only was he losing professional ties, he was losing employment opportunities. I mean, he was removed from the Man in My Basement, where he was supposed to be the executive producer and the actor. He was also removed from I don't know if it's biopic or biopic. Y'all let me know down in the comments about Otis Redding. He was removed from some newly ad campaigns with the Texas Rangers, because he had garnered that. He had won some type of Texan award again that previous year. So he was removed from the ad campaign for that. Uh, he was also poised to play Dennis Rodman in 48 Hours in Vegas. Now, it is my understanding that that's on hold. So I don't think he's lost it, but more so that you're just waiting, like Marvel is, on the results of this case. And then I think he lost a spot or position that had to go to another actor, in regards to Spike Lee's The Understudy. So, like I said, it rained, it poured. And all of these losses and all of these different things and pile up, as far as in the mainstream media says, he's done. He's done. They don't have any results. And this goes into what people are talking about, the issues and the problems with Me Too. Men have said for a while that you're guilty until you're proven innocent. And that's a big problem, because you lose so much stuff in the process of you trying to uh, prove your innocence. And that is not even the way the legal system is set up. That's number one. Number two, when you lose so much like this socially, because people lose employment, you don't have any way to sustain yourself. And what happens if it's a lie? And a lot of men go back to that Amber Heard Johnny Depp case, where this Johnny Depp lost so many roles. He lost respect within the film community. He had lost so much stuff, so he had to go to court and show the court that this is the woman that I was dealing with. She's not. She will say and do anything uh, for herself and for anything, even if that means taking me down. And he was able to prove that she was an she was unstable acting with him, and some of the things that she said about him were lies. And so men are saying this is what the problem is with Me Too. There are people out here who are getting abused. No one is telling you not to support them. But in your support for them, you have to wait for the court case. You have to wait for the things to play out before you can then vilify somebody to the point where they do not have the ability to make a living or anything on themselves. And because once they prove their innocence, they never get those things that they've lost back. They never. And there's no recourse for them to be able to get those things back. Do they sue the person that told the lie on them? What are they getting from that? It's a whole lot of stuff. And you see this coming out here. Like I said, when it rains, it pours. These are all the things that he lost. We're going to continue on. Then you get on April 20th, April 19th. It says Jonathan Majors, and this was reported by Variety. It said Jonathan Majors' issues worsen as more alleged abuse victims cooperate with the DA's office. And it was this exclusive, a half a page article, I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly. And it just said that there were people that were coming in to talk with the DA about Jonathan Majors and behaviors and all this other stuff. Nothing else. No, know who, what, when, where, how. It was just that there were victims cooperating with the DA's office. Now, I may be jumping ship here, but I want you to put a pin in this. Put a pin in this article, okay? Because this article is going to be important down the road, and I hope I remember it to talk about. And so he's sitting here like, okay, he's shark bait in the water because he doesn't have anything that's proving his innocence at this point. At this point, the next day, on the 18th, the defense files a letter in court asking for the DA to review what they have because they believe that they had provable evidence. Provable. And I think that that word was used throughout a lot of the talking points from the defense. And a lot of people thought she possibly may, because I think she may be of Indian or Pakistani descent. I don't know. I'm not going to put anything on her. I don't know exactly. But they probably thought that when she said that she probably meant probably instead of provably. No, she used the word provably. So that meant that she had evidence that she can prove to show that Jonathan Majors did not do what he was accused of. And what she mentioned, number one, is that the driver was a witness to what happened in the car, and that the driver reported that it was the victim that hit Mr. Majors and was beating him up to the point where he had to stop the car a couple of times, and then Mr. Major got out and he ran. Number two, that there were witnesses on the street that reported that Mr. Majors did not hit her, that that the victim was the one that was doing the hitting and the fussing and the things like that. And at that point, her and Mr. Majors separated for the night. Um, they also provided pictures of the victim after the incident. So here we go. This was the information. Now, mind you, Variety put out, oh, more victims have shown. Now remember, she was strangled, she was beaten across the head and the face, and her finger now one reported that her finger was broken, the other reported that her finger was heavily sprained. But anyway, her finger was injured. So you see here from the evidence that they have, this is from the Moxie Hotel, and this is called Club Lucy's, I think it was. Yes, Lucy's. So you have this little bubble here. This is the victim, and she is handing the DJ something, maybe something to play a song. I'm not sure, but she's handing him something. And she's using the hand because she said that it was her right hand and her right ear that was injured. So she's handing him a letter. And the defense's claim was if her finger is heavily, if it's injured or if it's broken, how is she handing him how is she handing him something? She should be in some pain. We also see here too, this is again at the Moxie Hotel at the Club Lucy's. She's at the hostess desk and she's doing text. She's texting. Now pay attention to this lady right here. She's going to be important too. That she's at the hotel. She's texting. She's using that right hand. She's using that right hand. And I think we have one more. This is her the day of, because again this all happened at uh, 12 a.m. to 12, 2, and 3 o'clock in the morning. So this is at 11:48. This is when this is inside the penthouse, and you're looking at police body cam footage. So this is her. Now, she's supposed to have been strangled, but you do not see any types of marks, red marks or anything. She's a fair-skinned woman. So if when hands or things are gone across their throat, there's usually little marks where you could see fingers pressed into the throat. You don't see the cut or anything going on her right side because this is her left side. So the cut is supposed to be on the other side. She looks a little bewildered when you look at her, but for the most part, she looks alert and cooperating with the authorities. So let's get into the evidence that they said that they had at that point that was clearing Mr. Majors' name. Now, according to Priya, she did an interview and she said that they had video footage from the ride. They had the driver's testimony, and she said that they had video from street cams and all this other stuff to show that Mr. Majors was innocent. Now, we have not seen any footage from the cab that has not been released. I don't know why it was not released, but it has not been released, so we don't really know. I honestly think that there is no footage from the cab. What we basically have is well, it's not a cab. It is an elite ride share. I don't know if they have cameras in there or not. With it being elite, maybe that's a perk or not for them to have or not. But we didn't get that information. So on April 27th, the judge granted uh, granted the victim a full temporary order of protection, because before there was a partial, and then they granted a full protection, which was strange because usually, from what my understanding, in New York they grant a full temporary order of protection right off the bat. So for him to get a partial, for them to have issued a partial and then issue a full temporary order, that procedure was strange. However, Mr. Majorson's camp said that they were happy with that. They had no objections to that full protection order because, again, he cited that she was the one that started the incident. He's been consistent with that. She's the one that started the incident. He did not start the incident. All right. So if you followed me, I did a video on this and we won't spend too much time. But this was just a timeline of everything that happened up into the May 9th court hearing, because at that time, him going to court in May was the big thing. And the defense thought that the case was going to be dismissed because remember, in early April, they wrote a letter outlining all the charges and everything to ask for this case to be dismissed. All right. So this is just a timeline. If you follow in the blue, if you follow in the yellow, let me look again. I know the red is Jonathan Majors timeline. All right. So again, this is Pam Entertainment TV's sacred timeline here. So everything in the red was Jonathan Majors. Everything in the yellow was the victim. Now we know that her name is Grace Jabari. That name was released. Uh, everything in the yellow was Grace Jabari. Everything in the blue is just describing everything that was supposed to have happened at that time. And you see at the end here, you talk about the full restraining order and you talk about all the things that he's lost and everywhere that he's gone. You see her movements were very linear. And then these are all the things that are going on. So if you want to just take that and pause it and blow it up, do that. But I have this on another video. And if you'd like, I can probably leave this in the description down, a link to it in the description. All right, let's move forward. So then let's get to the main ninth hearing. Interesting to say the least. All of the arresting charges that were filed against Mr. Majors were dismissed. I will say that again. All of the arresting charges for Mr. Majors was dismissed. If you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 counts right up in here, all of them were dismissed. And you say, why? Because all of those charges were related to the police, because the initial complainant was the police. They're the one that filed the charges against Mr. Majors. Because apparently in New York, in the state of New York, during domestic violence cases, they don't wait for the victim to file charges. If the police can see visible marks, if the victim is acting in a certain way that would lead them to conclude that they feel like she's in danger, they go ahead and they will arrest the person or the partner on the spot. And that's what they did with Jonathan Majors. Now, what we find out from the letter that Priya Chaudhry wrote was that the police explained that the victim had been strangled, had marks around her neck, and had been strangled. She had gotten copies of the body cam footage that she showed, just a still from it, that was not the truth. What we find out is that the police in that body cam footage was coaching the victim to say that she was strangled. They had asked her, she had said it about 19 times that she didn't know what was happening. She didn't know know that she wasn't strangled. And then on the 20th time, she said, yeah, that Jonathan put his hands around her neck. And so with her saying that, and then them seeing the visible marks on her, they went ahead and they arrested him. And this is where they built those charges. Also, I want to make note right here that also during that night, the body cam footage showed that there was vomit in the bed and that there was also sleeping pills. There were pills strewn across the bed and also across the floor. Now, this was noted back then. This is what we learned in May. And so you say, well, Pamela, if they dismissed all those charges, they should have dismissed the case, right? Wrong. Because as you see down in the bottom, these are the new charges. Well, where would the new charges come from, Pam? I don't understand. What are you talking about? Where would new charges come from? Let's continue. So this just talks about from, I think it's People magazine, that uh, Mr. Majors appeared in court. Well, he appeared virtually. He wasn't in the courtroom, and that the judge had explained to them and his attorney that they were dropping those initial charges and that they were recharging him with the new charges. You remember the new charges? Let's go back. They were charging him with the new charges that are down here on the bottom. These were the new charges. I'll read them. Assault recklessly causing physical injury. Uh, Harassment in the second, physical contact. Assault 3 with intent to cause physical injury, and then aggravated harassment. Okay, remember those are the charges. This is what he was then recharged, because people were confused about, wait a minute, they added more charges. They did. It was basically the same charges, but with that strangulation charge piece gone, because that was a charge that was entered into be false. There was evidence to show that that was false, and they weren't going to be able to prove that. So let's move on. I will read this last line. It says, this is from Priya Chaudhry. Yet this false case, let's see. Stop it, Pamela. In a statement obtained by People following the hearing, Major's attorney Priya Chaudhry said that her team has provided the Manhattan District Attorney's Office with irrefutable evidence that the alleged victim in the March 25th incident is lying about the facts of the case. And they say, yet this false case continued. The woman's claimed location shifts and her story morphs. That's important. Chaudhry said that in the statement, this is a witch hunt against Jonathan Majors, driven by baseless claim. Instead of dismissing the allegations in the face of the woman's clear lies, the DA has adjusted the charges to match the woman's new lies. And again, that goes back to these charges now being amended to what she said. And so, just to sum up that hearing, that all the arresting charges were dropped. The victim files a new charging affidavit, and now these new charges are levied against Mr. Majors. So what happened, Pam? Here it is. You remember when I said that the courts and everybody said, oh, Mr. Majors, that's fine. You don't have to show up in court today. We can do this virtually. Why? Because Mr. Bari was down at the courthouse filing this new charging document. So this is what she said. It says, the people of the state of New York against Jonathan Majors. They had the ADA and all of that. The family defendant victim relationship was his girlfriend. So now that's official to show that she was his girlfriend. It says the defendant is charged with assault in the third degree, aggravated harassment second degree, attempted assault in the third degree, and harassment in the second degree. Here's the story. On or about March 25th at about 12:40 a.m., at the northeast corner of Canal Street and Center Street in the county of the state of New York, the defendant with intent to cause physical injury to another person caused such injury to another person. The defendant recklessly caused physical injury to another person. The defendant with the intent to harass, annoy, threaten, and alarm another person struck, shoved, kicked, and otherwise subjected another person to physical contact, thereby causing physical injury to such person and to a family and household member of such person as defined in section 530-11 of the Criminal Procedure Law. The defendant with intent to cause physical injury to another person attempted to cause such injury to another person. The defendant, with intent to harass, annoy, and alarm another, subjected that person to physical contact and attempted and threatened to do the same. Boy, I tell you, they cut and paste that. The factual base for the charge is as follows. I observed the defendant pull my right middle finger, causing bruising, swelling, and substantial pain to my finger. I further observed the defendant grab my right arm and place it behind my body and use his hands to twist my right arm and right middle finger, causing substantial pain to my right forearm and right middle finger. I further observed the defendant strike me with his hand across my right ear, causing substantial pain and a laceration behind my right ear. I further observed the defendant push me back into the vehicle using both of his hands, causing me to fall backwards. False statements made in this written instrument are punishable as a Class A misdemeanor pursuant to Section 210.45 of the penal law as other crimes, and as other crimes. So she signed this at 9:15. He was his court hearing started at 9 o'clock, and it only lasted like 9 or 10, 15 minutes because it was virtual. So at 9:15 after the hearing, this is what she signed, or during the hearing, or whatever. Interesting. Uh, I found this in a article. I want to say it was Laura Italiano's article. It was her. It was that article, or it was the Daily Mail. One of those two. I'm sorry, I didn't put the information up here. So this is just me. This is just a slide of what I just read from that slide. So the initial charges were dismissed. The initial charges were dismissed. The arresting charges were dismissed. So on that day of court, Mr. Bari went into the courthouse, sat down with the prosecution, and they compiled this new charging affidavit. So what we see Mr. Majors going through right now is from that new charging affidavit that was signed by Ms. Jabari. So a couple of days later, lo and behold, what did we see? Child, next thing you know, there was hints and rumors that Jonathan Majors was uh, dating Megan Good. And first, people were like, "Nah, that's not true. Maybe that's his friend. We don't know. How would he know?" Because that was the question. How would he know Megan Good? He don't know Megan Good. They don't know each other. Now, from my mutual that lives out there in Los Angeles and is going through a career, she's told me that Black Hollywood is not that large out there. If you are a Black actor, if you are a Latino actor, uh, you know each other. You know of each other, you know each other, because you all go to the same house parties, because they don't club like they do over there anymore. They usually go to house parties. Somebody's having a little get together at their house, and so usually you would be in that area. So there is some way that he could have met them. However, because Megan Good was married to a pastor, she was recently divorced, they just believed that they were not going to be in the same circles. Also, Jonathan Majors at that point was known to date Caucasian women. So they were saying there's just no way that these two people would have hooked up. She is not his type. That's not who he usually goes with. Social media went ablaze. So these are just some of the stills that we saw. And if you look at some of my little question is, uh, was Megan the person who sent the text? That was one of the big things that happened out on social media. Is this a PR stunt? And that's been the big question. Is this a PR stunt or is this a real relationship? What is going on? And another question that was asked is, what is Megan getting out of this? Because she's out here with this man who has these pending charges. Is this a look for her? What kind of look? What is she actually getting out of this? Now we'll go ahead and remember that even though he was dropped from a lot of uh, projects that he was supposed to done this year, he was not dropped by Marvel. He still had his he still had the season 2 of Loki in which he was presented in. And he's also still going to be present in phase 5. I think it's the Kang Dynasty and Kang. I don't know the names of the titles, y'all, so y'all forgive me if you know the names of the titles. He is still slated to be uh, the villain, the Marvel villain for this. So there's nothing out from Marvel that says they're not, because they had already, by this point, they had already filmed Loki. Probably they had probably finished filming Loki uh, sometime last year. And they and people were speculating like, oh, he's about to be cut from Marvel. There were a lot of YouTube pundits and critics for Marvel saying that, going back and forth, saying that there was talks in them finding somebody else, and they were getting ready to shoot all these scenes with another person. And they were also talking about, some of these pundits were talking about, it would be easy because all you have to do is say that this person is a variant and all this. It was a whole lot of out here. Uh, uh, you had that. You had you child. Let me just tell you, black women were not pleased with this, honey, because they were like, "See, here you go again. You get in trouble with these white folks, and then you come back to these black women to boost your career because you know this is your fan base, partly of your fan base. You come back here. Why don't you go to another Caucasian woman and let her build you up?" I'm telling you, social media was not having it. I think there were 4,852 TikToks about this being a PR relationship. There was probably 10,000 Twitter tweets. There were about 10,000 tweets talking about how this was PR. This couldn't be a real relationship. So I also want to mention this, that prior to any of this, and why people thought this was odd and why people thought that this was a PR stunt, is because Jonathan Majors was very, very adamant about how he did not have any social media pages. He was not on social media. He did not like, he could not, the way he was built up, he could not take reading social media posts and things like that about him. So he just decided that he was not going to be on social media. Okay. So to then see, and from May to now, that we probably have seen more of Jonathan Majors out and about socially, is amazing. We hadn't seen this before. He's usually not out. This picture down here with him at the airport, child, I'm gonna tell you, people were saying, does this remind you of something? Doesn't this remind you of a couple of years ago when another couple announced that they were Instagram official, but there was rumors of them being seen, because it was like this right here, where you see them getting off a plane. Now, mind you, when those two people got off the plane, they wore masks, so you couldn't really tell who they were, which was interesting. But somebody figured out who these two people were in mask, and I am talking about Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey at the time. What was that? 20 was it 2020, 2021, somewhere in there, when when the rumors were starting that they were dating. This right here is a video. This is just a thumbnail of a video I did. PR stunt or love match. Go check that video out. It is in my playlist. But I wanted to say that because Jonathan Majors was moving different. You know, you see them on a Red Lobster date. You see them out and about. You see them in Morocco. You see them in all these little different places. And I've got some pictures to show you of this. But what you also see too is that his change in his embracing social media. This was a video that was from his Facebook fan page where he's addressing his fans. This is something that was different for him. We had not seen him do this. But I will say this, one of the things that I just noticed about him, well, I'll go ahead and play it. But one of the things I noticed is that he just looks so tired. I thought this was this it. You noticed that his PR company had dropped him, but I thought that this was good. Let your fans know that you're out there, and let your fans know that you're thinking about them. Like I said, he does, as I know that he does not have a Facebook page. He does not have a Twitter or TikTok or any of those types of things. I know he doesn't have this. So he was able to get this message to his fans and to his fan to the fan page on Facebook. And shout out to them for having such great information. But the thing that I noticed about him, I don't know if you saw a video of him, maybe it's a couple of years ago. He had done a Vanity Fair like little snippet when he was out doing the Western movie that he was in. And he looked so much different. His skin looked so much different because he was doing like a skincare routine. And I know this is just anecdotal and out thing, but I'm just knowing that his skin, he looks like he's worried because he's not look doesn't look like he's taking care of his skin the way he was taking care of his skin in that video. But that's what noticed me. Now I do know there's a different type of it's the different season, but still, I just noticed that. That's just a little tidbit. That's the girly girl in me. I noticed that. So that video was a precursor because I'm assuming that he was over in Portugal to get a flight over into Morocco because that's where him and Megan Good were spotted. They had taken an international child. They had gone to Morocco. Uh, you see this right here. This is just a thumbnail of a video that I had done. Go check that out. But these are just pictures and stills from TMZ and other outlets showing Megan and Jonathan in Morocco. This is another still. I think this is when Megan's sister got engaged and they were at Disneyland. So they were there doing that video. Honey, this was the Red Lobster. I think this was Mother's Day. This is Red Lobster. And you know what Beyonce said about if she takes you to Red Lobster, child. And, and this, again, this is them out and about. So uh, I think he still looks a little uncomfortable, but he was embracing it a little bit more. And I would say yes, that's probably part of what his new PR team is getting to him, is to get out here and to show you're more personable, that all of those different things. So he was probably embracing, but I just thought that that was interesting that he was now embracing the social media when he was so adamant about not being on. So then we see them out and about again, and Megan comes to court in June. She also comes to court in July. What happened in the June hearing, you ask? They go to court again asking for the case to dismiss. It is not being dismissed. So the defense then removes their dismissal and asks that this be set for trial. And trial was set for August 3rd. So Megan accompanies him to the June 20th, and she accompanies him to the August 3rd. So why do I have these two pictures up here? Because again, He went to the June 20th hearing, and everybody was talking about this brown suit. Everybody talked about this wrinkly brown suit. And then you see in August, he got himself together. He got a suit that wasn't made out of this linen blend material. He looked like he got a polyester blend material where it wasn't wrinkling. He looked much better. You have Megan. Both times that she went to court, she looked good. So this was his social media look. I'll go over some of the things that were talked about in these hearings in another video. And the reason why is because it gets bogged down, but I just wanted to give a timeline and overview on this video. I know it's long, but it's a lot of stuff. It is a lot of stuff. So this is them on June 20th, and this is just I'll play it. This is just them arriving into court. And so here's just a quick overview. On June 20th, Majors appeared in person at the Manhattan Criminal Court in New York City for a hearing with Good by his side. The pair were seen holding hands as they entered and exited the court together alongside Majors' attorney. During the hearing, the defense withdrew a motion had previously entered during the May hearing in which Majors attended virtually. Judge Rachel S. Polly then set the case for August 3rd, according to People. So again, the defense withdrew their motion to dismiss and asked the court to set this for trial so they could get it out of the way. But this is when all the stuff, this is when all the good stuff started to happen. Jonathan Major's defense decides on the 21st that they went and filed charges in two precincts that they charged against Grace Jabari. Where am I? Yeah. Oh, I'm a little bit ahead. But this is part of what Major's defense is uh, for this court hearing that's supposed that happened in August. They said that the racist police officers, because he charged racism and them not putting forth all the evidence. It says here that the racist police officer arrested Jonathan Majors. They disregarded Majors making the 911 call. The police disregarded Majors' injuries. They said that the police were coaching Grace Jabari to accuse Majors of assault. They said that the police questioned among themselves how Majors could afford the penthouse, and that the police disregarded the sleeping pills and the vomit and other evidence. They said that the DA is disregarding evidence, saying that the driver has reported that Grace initiated the violence, that there's video evidence showing that she was not injured by Jonathan Majors during the time that she said she was, and that there were other witnesses to the altercation. And there was also that the bartender was going to was ready to testify at a statement saying that Jabari did not have visible injuries. So the next day on June 21st, you have Jonathan Majors filing a cross complaint against his assault accuser. Jonathan Majors has filed an NYPD domestic violence complaint against his assault accuser and an ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari, in which he alleges that she attacked him, not the other way around, during a March 25th dispute on a Chinatown street corner. Majors remains charged in that dispute with Jabari alleging that the Creed 3 and Marvel Kane the Conqueror actor broke her finger, twisted her arm, and struck her in the ear, causing it to bleed. Majors has denied the accusation in an August thorough trial date and has been set uh, that has been set in Jabari's case against Majors. But on June 21st, the day after his last court hearing, Majors walked into the Chinatown precinct and gave his own version of what actually happened, alleging that the drunken, hysterical Jabari scratched, slapped, and grabbed at his face, causing pain and bleeding. He also went to a second NYPD precinct, the one that covers his penthouse in the Chelsea area, and reported the same thing. Uh, the evidence that was provided by the defense, there's a handyman prepared to testify that he was with Mr. Majors when they found Mr. Jabari in the closet. There's a driver prepared to testify that Mr. Jabari was the instigator of that fight. That Miss Jabari was hurt after her encounters with the Majors and alleges a suicide attempt. And they also talk about the coercion by the NYPD. Now, this is one of the video evidence that they had put forth from uh, the defense. And I will play this in 13 seconds, but basically, this is after the fight on the street that she then went to this club. Pay attention to this woman. And then this is Mr. Jabari. And it just loops. It just loops. But that's the evidence. And then you had that was just another still. I mean, that's just another little video from the Lucy's nightclub. I think this is coming into the front door. The day after that, well, actually the same day, but later on that evening when all this information was put forth, you have Rolling Stone coming out with this scathing article about Jonathan Majors being extremely abusive and allegedly goes back nearly a decade. And in this article, I'm just going to summarize it. They interviewed more than 40 individuals. Out of those 40 individuals, only one person was prepared to give their name and give information, but it was favorable to Mr. Majors. This was a 3-month investigation. They interviewed people that knew Mr. Majors at Yale in a romantic life and during his employment. They discussed Major's treatment of former partners, no direct interview with these former romantic partners. All the information came from third parties. No one had direct information. It was just what somebody else said that was going on. They talked about Mr. Majors was aggressive on the set of Magazine Dreams. And this is the movie that's supposed to come out. I think it's coming out in December. Uh, Apparently it was investigated and it was basically chalked up that when the person talked to him, he was leaving a scene or he was just getting out of a scene, so he was a little abrupt. There was no criminal report filed or any type of HR form filed for that. And there was also reports that Majors was aggressive at Yale. Again, it was a lot, but it didn't give us a whole lot of information. Again, it was a bunch of hearsay stuff, but it worked in tandem with the fact that once Mr. Majors put this information out that he had done the cross complaint, they had put this information out. I don't think that the media was prepared for Mr. Majors to do that cross complaint, because this article seemed to be rushed. And one of the things that interests me is that they put it out at like 10:07 p.m. So when you saw this, if you saw that night, uh, that was interesting in myself because we learned about Mr. Majors filing the reports and stuff the day before, and then Well, that day, and then that evening, this is when they put that information out. So we're going to continue down this timeline, y'all. I know this is long. I'm going to try to get through it. So then in July, Marvel just confirms that Majors will appear in Loki season 2, and as of the date of this video, he has done at least uh there has been 3 episodes of the show, and he was just in the last episode. So we get to the August 3rd hearing. And so everyone comes to court. We are prepared to see all this evidence and everything to go. We get to court, and the prosecution postpones it because they tell the judge that they're still in the middle of discovery. The night before, so that was August the 2nd, the prosecution gives the defense this 2 terabyte hard drive of information the night before the trial. Apparently, the defense was asking for all of the information and stuff from the prosecution, and they have been slow to give the information. I guess they decided that they were going to walk in on that day and say they had enough time to review the information because we gave it to them last night. So the defense, excuse me, agreed with the postponement and made sure that the judge knew that the prosecution has not given them all the information that they needed for them to be able to start this trial. So they set a new trial date for September 2023, right? So this was interesting because the defense set this trial. Now, New York has a law about how you're supposed to, or the time limits that you have to do these cases. And I will discuss that in the legal section of this video. I mean, of the next video. And again, this is just a social media look. He thanks his fans for his birthday because he was in court the day before his birthday, I think it was. So he does a video to his fans again. And you look at him, and again, from the first video to this video, I'm not going to play the whole thing. We're going to move on, but it's the skin. Remember the skin? I know it's a different season, but the skin looks different. He looks like he is a little bit more comfortable in his skin. So in September, they come back to court. I think it was September 6th, and the DA claims that they are ready to try this case. They present what evidence they have for the court, and the defense said that they were not satisfied because they said that there is information that in this 2 terabyte stuff that shows that the prosecutions may have known that Mr. Major was innocent, and that they declared that their certificate of being ready for trial uh, doesn't seem to be accurate, and that they at that point were supposed to return to court on the 15th of September. They go to court, and then the defense files 2 days before the 15th. I think it was on the 12th. Yes, they file a motion to dismiss, and they filed this. It's about 23 pages, and like I said, we'll go over that in my next video. But it's 23 pages of evidence that they said that the prosecution held from them for over 3 or 4 months, right? So before we get to the evidence, I wanted to take the time that because this video was just to go over the timeline and also to go over how how the media goes over this case. When there's something that looks like is in favor of Mr. Majors in his case, the media will put out something that seems so crazy and so wild. And that's what people will focus on. Salacious is the word that I'm talking about. That's what the media will focus on and everybody will focus on. But they don't focus on the stuff that they need, the videos that they need to focus on. So let's continue. And what video am I talking about? Baby, TMZ comes out on the 12th talking about, this was 2 days before the court hearing, that Jonathan Majors breaks up a fight up at a high school out in Los Angeles. Apparently, Mr. Majors went to an In-N-Out burger that's apparently near some kind of performing arts high school. And I don't know if he was waiting in line in the car or did he get out, get his food, and then look over. I don't know exactly. I don't know the makeup of Los Angeles to know exactly how that school sits or how he was able to see. But he gets out the car to stop these two girls from fighting. At first, everyone thought it was a PR stunt and a hoax, but then we find out later that actually, yes, the girls were fighting. The girls are fighting. The girls were fighting. It was a fight. It was in their paper. I mean, they have like schools now have like a computer, I don't want to say computer threads, but they have a whole little app or something that they all can communicate on. And apparently, this was information and stuff on this app and everything like that. So, this was a true fight. He did break up this fight. I'm not going to go into this video because I think a lot of us have seen it. And I call BS on it. It was okay, but it wasn't the important video. See, that's him breaking it up. We're gonna move on. Uh so when we talk about this evidence, what do we discover? That there was an unaliving attempt. There were videos showing that she was unhurt after Mr. Majors. She had no physical signs that she was hurt. They're shown two different visual situations where she was unhurt. They did talk about that Mr. Majors went to the Mark Hotel, that he took pictures of his injuries, and I apologize for misspelling that. That there was an August 21st letter to the judge. And look at my September, I misspelled a couple of words. And that in September, there was an motion to dismiss. So, why is that important? Because then we get to this video. And this is the video that we saw right the same day that we saw the fight video. So this is supposed to be a video that the prosecution held from the defense that they have had since I think it was April or May of this year that they had this information. And this is a video that shows this is supposed to be this is supposed to be after them getting out of the car, because remember they were supposed to have been fighting in the car. And the this is the video showing them after the car, but before they were fighting in the streets, because the complaint started, but they dismissed those charges that they were fighting in the car. They dismissed those because number one, she had no marks of strangulation. That was untrue. And also, they had from the driver saying that she was the one that initiated the injuries, that Mr. Majors did not strike her, and that he ran out of the car. So, this is right after that. I don't have the sound because I know that sound was kind of muffled. So, this is just to be able to watch this video. You remember how I said in that Lucy's video, watch the lady? This is the young lady at the Lucy's video where she was going up the steps, where she was sitting at the thing, at the desk. This is her on her right side putting her hair up. You don't see any blood. She's able to take that heavy coat and move it about. This is interesting to me because the video glitched. I don't know how much time has passed since that video glitched like that, but that was interesting. You can see a copy. You can see this video. I have it on my Twitter page. That's Camera Entertainment TV, and you can hear the sound. It's also in my video. My last video about Jonathan Majors. This video is playing as well, and you can hear the sound. Also, you could go to this video comes from the last article written by Laura Italiano for the Insider. Don't know why it flipped like that. And if you read the narration on the screen, it tells you all the things that she's doing uh, when she claimed that he broke her middle finger. Again, this is right after they get out of the cab for the initial fight in the car, and this is them being on the street. And she has taken down and placed back up her hair about 2 or 3 times. And make sure you watch at the top of the screen because that's from the top of the screen right up in here. This is where you're going to see Jonathan Majors come. Look at that showing up on cue. Now watch, walks past him. She looks the thing is, but they all follow. They all follow. Now he is about to act like he's about to fight, and she follows behind him. Shout out to the girlfriend to make sure that he didn't do anything stupid. But the only thing that let's see if it'll let me rewind. Here we go. Watch how Jonathan Majors interacts with her. Watch how he pulls away from her. There she asks about her stuff. You see how the lady has her hand and then she pulls the woman's hand back with that right hand? And you saw how Jonathan Majors kind of jerked away from her. This is the video that the prosecution had buried in that 2 terabytes of information because apparently in New York you're supposed to label all the videos and stuff like that. That this was a video that was not labeled and that defense came over. Now this is just a basic still of the evidence that Mr. Majors put through forth, saying that she was attacked. He shows where she scratched him in the face. This is to show that he took these pictures at this time. The scratch on the hand. He woke up the next morning, there was blood on the pillow, and this is the jacket that the buttons that she pulled the buttons off and that she tore the pockets, according to Mr. Majors. So the next media information we got is that there was a video surface, and I couldn't find the video just to do this video actually, where she had gone. Megan Good and Lorenz Tate were hosts of a. I think it was the Black Congressional Caucus White Party, and she was a host, and Lorenz Tate was a host. And she had gone up and said her little statement, and she said, "Well, baby, you have anything to say?" And he was like, "Well, whatever the missus said." And so their social media was ablaze. Are they married? Are they not married? What's going on? I don't understand. I don't understand. Stop, stop. I can't stand it. I know this was a long video, but I do want you all to get caught up about what's going on. And the next hearing again for him is October 25th. He will be there. This is where the defense is going to, and the judge is going to rule on the dismissal charges. The prosecution has put forth their response to the defense's motion to dismiss. The defense answered that, and so now the judge is going to go and rule on this. So we're just going to wait till October to see what's going on. I think that either it's going to be one or two ways. They're either going to go to trial or it's going to be dismissed. It's got to, one of those two things have to be done because this is something that has been going on in the courts since May. And so some resolution has to come up. And when I do my video just talking about the charges, I'll explain that to you. All right. Thank you so much for watching. If you got any comments, questions, or just wanting to say hi, please leave those down in the comments. If you like what you see, please leave a like. Also, hit that subscribe button. When you hit that subscribe button, you'll be open to a plethora of videos that I have done. Okay? All right. We do this every week, y'all. We do this every week. Every week. And as always, people, bye bye.